Hey everyone, I want to do a quick video here while I drive. Um, and one of my favorite vehicle related YouTube channels is Big Truck, Big RV. I think he's putting out just probably the best truck review videos and just general thoughts and commentary on trucks and towing and things like that. So huge shout out to him. He made a comment the other day, point of his video about gas versus diesel for towing. And one of his points, which I don't think was his main point, and I don't remember everything exactly that he said, so I'm not in any way trying to be critical, and I hope I don't misspeak on this. I just sort of trigger some of my own thoughts. I believe he said something like, well, for under 10,000 pounds, you can get away certainly with a gas truck and possibly even a half-ton truck. And he just, had another video recently too about towing with half-ton trucks and their capabilities. And again, I'm not specifically disagreeing with him and the points that he made in those videos, but I thought I'd share my own experiences. I have a F350 with the 6.7 diesel. Got about 10,000, under 10,000 miles on it. I came from a 2007 Ram 2500 with the Hemi. And it's, of course, not a fair comparison. They're 10 years apart. But what I can tell you is the difference is, night and day doesn't begin to describe the difference. And I would strongly recommend to get the biggest truck that you can. And by that I mean get a 1-ton and get a diesel if you're going to do any towing at all. Now, I suppose if you're only towing, a little jet ski or something like that around it, who cares? But if you're towing anything, even a normal boat that weighs, say 5,000 pounds or something like that, the experience that you're going to have is drastically different in the 1-ton truck than the 3/4-ton truck, and in the gas versus the diesel. Sure, you can do it. I know it's not going to be horrible, but why not make it as easy and as enjoyable as possible for you so the entire experience is good? And what the tipping point for me was, we loaded up the family and we hauled the travel trailer down to Florida to go to Disney. And, it's a long drive, 18 hours or something like that. And yeah, the Ram pulled the trailer just fine. But the experience was not good because, every hill, the transmission is shifting and the engine is screaming, and I'm running at 3,000 RPM or 3,500 RPM or whatever, just watching the gas gauge go down. Every bump on the road, every crosswind, every time a semi drove by, just pushing the trailer around. My dad had a 2004, I think it was, F-150, with the max tow package or whatever they called it at the time. And he had a big boat. It was a big Lund Baron boat, so the biggest boat that Lund made, big engine. It didn't weigh that much. I think the whole thing was 3,000 pounds or 4,000 pounds. It wasn't that much. But it's a big boat. It was long, 20 feet or something like that. The bow of the boat kind of stuck up, so it kind of caught the wind. And yeah, it was, the boat was well within the towing limits of the truck on paper. But, you knew it was there. And every time we went on a trip, especially on a longer trip, we drive out to South Dakota or wherever, and man, it was hard. Like it took energy, to drive, because you're kind of fighting it. And it's not like the truck couldn't do it, but it's just not the same. And now with this truck, and I'm sure it would be the case with the Chevy 1-ton or a Ram 1-ton, like, you know, it's so much more stable. So much more stable towing. I'm not gripping the steering wheel. A little bit of crosswind I don't feel. I just no concern about it. I'm never going to be concerned that, gee, am I overloading the back or whatever. And the diesel, it's just effortless to pull it. Now, I don't believe this. People say, oh, you don't even know it's there. That's not true. Of course you know it's there. You're towing a 7,000 or an 8,000 or a 10,000 or a 5,000, whatever. You're towing a trailer. Like, of course you're going to know it's there. The engine is different. The suspension is different. The steering is different. The braking is different. But it's effortless. And like going on a long family trip now, towing the travel trailer is enjoyable. The drive is enjoyable. And it makes the entire trip enjoyable. So again, I'm not specifically disagreeing. Of course, you can get away with towing a 10,000 pound trailer with a gas engine, 3/4 ton truck. But I'm telling you, the experience is just so much better, and it makes everyone happier, and therefore the entire trip is better if you get the biggest truck that you can afford. And I get it that, maybe not everyone can afford, a 1-ton diesel truck. But actually, 1-ton trucks are almost no difference in price compared to a 3/4 ton truck if the engine and the transmission are the same. It's, adding the diesel engine and corresponding transmission, is going to add something like $8,000 to $10,000. And yes, that's a lot of money. There's no doubt about it. But if you're buying a truck because you have something to haul or tow, my strong recommendation, because I've been there and I've done that, is to get, just go big the first time around, because, it's harder to get something that kind of works and then suffer through it and then end up getting what you really need later on. Like, that costs more money and more time and heartache and stress and everything else than just getting, what you really need in the first place. And I just, again, strongly recommend, don't look at what's on paper. Don't look at the rating and say, oh, that's under the tow rating. I mean, just get the biggest truck. And honestly, if you're towing or hauling anything, I just don't even know why you'd get a half-ton truck anymore. I mean, the cost of half-ton trucks is ridiculous now, squarely in line with comparably equipped 3/4 or 1-ton trucks, with the exception of adding the diesel engine. But it's safer. It's less stress on the engine. It's less stress on the suspension. So you're protecting, your vehicle. Dimension, I mean, it's not any harder to drive a 1-ton or a 3/4 ton truck than it is to drive a half-ton truck. I live in a city, and every day I drop my kids off and I go to the supermarket and I go to work and I park in parking lots and I go through drive-through, and dimensionally they're effectively the same. I mean, an 8-foot box, of course, is harder to drive in the city than a 6-foot box, but it's not that big of a difference. And for that note, I would always recommend now that you get an 8-foot bed. This is an 8-foot bed, and my previous truck, every previous truck I've had has been a 6 or 6.5 or 6 3/4 or whatever it is foot bed. And it's like, I look back now and I'm like, man, all those times I went and I got a sheet of plywood and I had to have the tailgate down and I was worried, is something going to fly out? Like, how stupid. Get an 8-foot bed, because it's literally, it's almost no different when you're driving the 8-foot bed than when you're driving the 6.5-foot bed truck. Like, you're driving a big truck either way. Parking in a parking lot sucks, and you're probably gonna have to park in the back, and you're probably gonna have to back into a spot. And it doesn't really matter if you have a 1-ton, if you have a 3/4 ton, or if you have a half-ton. They all are big, so who cares? You might as well just get the biggest one you can. So I'm kind of rambling. I apologize for that, but I just wanted to share those thoughts and and again, to summarize, I just recommend, don't look on paper. Don't listen to what the salesman says. Oh, you can tow this. They want to sell you the truck. They don't necessarily want to get what's best for you. Get the biggest truck that you can afford, and your bases will be covered, and your life will be easier, and everyone will be happier. So please let me know what you think of this. As always, please help my channel grow by subscribing, liking, sharing the video, leaving comments. Appreciate watching, appreciate any feedback.